All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for showing up, and we'll go ahead and get started. Today we have a special guest, and so Chef has agreed to come down and talk to us a little bit this morning about what's been happening in the kitchen and a couple of updates. So let's give a big, warm welcome to Chef Johnny.
So I asked Brand if he would let me come up here and talk to you. When I go through the dining rooms, I'm always talking to the residents, explaining some of the situations and the challenges that we face all the time in dining. And I don't really think the message is getting out to everyone, because sometimes I hear some things come back that make me feel maybe they're not really, my message wasn't very clear to some people. So I figured let me talk to the masses and get this out. You know, things happened in our world that we can't control. We had hurricanes. I've been here 5 years, and we've had COVID that was devastating to this community. From COVID, we lost 80% of our dining staff in the dining room. But we were fortunate enough to keep all of our kitchen staff and our cooks that are completely loyal, and we had to mandate the fact that vaccines had to be here in this community to keep you safe. But because of COVID, we were forced to change the way that we live and work, and these changes had a big impact on our community. Prices of food are skyrocketing. I was paying $126 for a case of crab meat for your stuffed sole. I'm up to $239. And that's just a part of it. Bacon is ridiculous. Everything that we use every day has gone up. What's very important for you folks to understand is that when we were with Brookdale, our order guide was this big. And it was very difficult to get all the things that we needed, and I constantly had to go to the stores to get some things. Regardless if they wanted me to or not, it's important that we keep what's on the menu and keep you happy. LCS took over, and John Patangelo came up to see us in the office. Me, Ricky, and Phil were there, and he said to us very clearly, "We're here to support you. We're here to give you everything that you need." He opened up the entire guide with no restrictions. Not only that, we have a full meat purveyor, Halperns. We get our meat also from Cisco. We have 3 seafood companies, 3 produce companies. There is no community that I've been in. I sing in a lot of different communities on my own time during the weekends, and I know so many of the directors that are waiting tables, that are on buffet lines. They're not all doing good at all. We are doing so well here. You really have to know this. So I just want to make it very clear that what we're doing here in this community is absolutely with your best interest. When the food comes out on that buffet that we're forced to do, and believe me, we don't want it. We want everything open. It makes it easier for us. But we're forced to do what we have to do. We had a couple of comments about the food not being hot on the buffet. Folks, it is a buffet. So we've came up with these solutions, and we put them in place yesterday. We're not going to have the dining rooms quite as cold, which I'm sure a lot of you would be happy about. We're also taking our plates. They're under a heat lamp to keep it hot. We put 3 sternos in each chafer to keep it hot. We've put saran wrap on the front of it so that none of that heat escapes. We actually put, and if you look at the end of the buffet line, you'll see metal lids. And that's going to, for you to put on, it's your option to take it to the table to keep it warm. Folks, we're doing everything we possibly can, and I promise you, this is embarrassing for us as a chef, for you to have to feel that you're getting less than what you deserve. You're getting the quality that we have. LCS is supporting us 100%. They're putting money wherever we need to do to make it right here. And, you know, there's not much more I can say. It's just, I want to be positive. I want everybody to be positive. When you see me, ask me any question you want. I'll answer it honestly. I'll never lie to you. I love working here. There is no other place for me to go. I want to retire here. I need your support. We need your support and understanding. On that note, we're also going to open up the tavern on Monday for breakfast and lunch, and we're also going to be offering at nighttime now, as well as lunch in the dining room, hamburgers, hot dogs, and Reubens. And as we can, We are going to add more and more and open up different things, but please understand, we love you guys and we just want you to be with us and support us. Thank you.
That's going to be a hard act to follow. Okay, I'm going to give it my best shot, and we're going to go directly up to the board, and we'll get reset. First slide. So let's talk just a little bit about COVID this morning. The original COVID-19, that was what they call the origin strand, got this thing started. The Delta variant, one of the things we know about Delta, it was more contagious, but it was less deadly. And now there's a new variant out there, the Omicron variant. It spreads. Here's what we do know. It spreads much more rapidly than any variant that we've seen so far. But truthfully, there's little else we know about it. There are some assumptions that the experts have been able to make, but there's not enough data at this point to confirm that any of this information is true. It's not as deadly as what they think. They believe that younger people are at higher risk rather than seniors. It may not be treatable by antivirals or antibiotics, and it may be 2 to 3 weeks before we have enough data to start actually drawing some conclusions and making recommendations on what to look for. Here's what we do know. We can take a look at COVID here in the U.S., and these are the figures for the United States, not for Florida. Across the country, new daily cases fell by 23%. The daily reported deaths fell by 24%, and COVID-related hospitalizations fell by another 5%. So we've seen for 6 consecutive weeks, we've seen improvement in the COVID numbers, and it appears that the bottom of it is completely falling out. And so I think it's probably, knock on wood right now, safe to say that the Delta variant has pretty much been overcome here in Florida, although we are getting ready to enter into the winter season. This next slide, please. This sort of shows you where the reported cases per 100,000 residents, it's a 7-day rolling average, and where Delta is prominent. Look at Florida. We're completely clear. And Oklahoma, I have no idea why Oklahoma, but here in Florida, it's because our positivity rate is down at, I think it was 1.9 the last time I checked. It's just not an issue. You go out to Denver, New Mexico. I mentioned last week, that's where my sister lives. Their positivity rate is 15-16%. And even higher up here in the Midwest. But Florida, we're just completely and totally clear. So we should celebrate that. And again, here at Regency Oaks, we have not had a COVID case in close to 13 weeks. I believe this is week 13, and that's staff and residents. Staff is 100% vaccinated. Our residents are 94% vaccinated. So we clearly have herd immunity. It is, one more slide. I see if I have this on here. Vaccination status. So let me just say one other thing before I complete that. Florida is among the most vaccinated states in the country. And so when you see Florida being completely clear, there's a reason. It's tied to the vaccine. Here's sort of the vaccine status across the globe. And the darker the green, the more effective you have been at getting your population vaccinated. The United States is not dark green. We're only about 62%. And so there's quite a ways to go here in the United States to get that herd immunity and a higher percentage of the population vaccinated. Next slide. So this Omicron it's amazing. And so when we were here last Tuesday, we weren't even talking about it. It hadn't been named. No one knew it existed. In 4 days, November 24th was the first reported case, and by November 28th, look how this is spread. And so these are the countries over that 4-day cycle that had Omicron present and diagnosed in these countries. Is it going to come to the United States? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It's probably already here. It's just not been diagnosed. So we know it's coming, and we're going to continue to track it. Again, there's not a lot we know about it, but we heard the president yesterday talk about this was a reason for concern, but not a reason for panic. And I thought he said that really well. There's no need at this point to panic, particularly here at Regency Oaks, where we have so many people who have been vaccinated and have also had their booster. So at this point, we'll watch it, but we aren't going to panic. Next slide. Okay, I wanted to go and talk a little bit about the resident satisfaction survey. And, I had mentioned last week that we would talk about a little something different every week for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And so what I wanted to look at today was called the Resident Priority Improvement Chart. And so these are the areas where we have the largest opportunity. And so the first thing that the chart does is it takes the drivers. And last week I talked about a driver and I cited the example of green beans. If I ask you how many of you like your green beans crisp, al dente, half of you would probably raise your hand. The other half would say, no, I like mine cooked to mush, where I get all that flavor. And so, yes, there can be debate, but what we know, green beans are not a driver. I've never had someone come out and say, Brian, I'm moving out of Regency Oaks because you can't cook green beans. And so Regency Oaks is, what we're looking at here are the drivers. There were 94 questions. You can see there are about 20 drivers. And a driver is something that's significant, something that's important, and something that helps move the organization forward and that residents care an awful lot about. So the first thing that I want to point out is ideally everything up there should be green, because you'll recall that green was the strongly agree and totally agree category. The red, orange, brown were somewhat less likely, totally less likely. And so the first goal is to get everything to be green. But as we look at this quadrant, you can see it's broken up into 4 areas. And along the left axis, that's the impact, how strong a driver is it. And so the strongest driver, it's on a scale of 0 to 45. The strongest driver in all communities is the executive director. It's ED. And you can see the ED, it's the green one up here in the quadrant. That makes a lot of sense. If you're executive director, if you don't have stability at the top, if they're constantly turning over, if you have an executive director that you feel doesn't listen to you or respond to your needs, the ED is the driver of the community. And so our residents felt that way as well. You can see over on the bottom scale, those are the percentage of the strongly agree or agree. And the further out you go to the right, the more we see the agreement. And so we know over here we have security, the front desk, and recreation. That's Tiffany and her team. So we know that those were our highest scoring areas. All of those were at 90% and above. And so you can see them out here. Now, so where do we want people to be on this thing? We want everyone to be green, and we want everyone to be in the upper right-hand quadrant. And so if you're not there, that's where we're going to write an action step to try to help get those people either to green or up into the upper right-hand quadrant. And so let's talk about the front desk. And so the front desk is green. It's a solid dark green. So that means they have a lot of support from the residents. It's one of the top. It is the top area for resident support, but it's not much of a driver. You can see it's barely 12%. And so as a driver, it has some limited impact. And so this lower quadrant is good. And so these people, everyone in the lower quadrant had a good score, but we need to get them up into the, if we can, get them up one step above into the top right quadrant, because they become more of a driver. So where we will really focus is in this top left quadrant. And these are the areas where you can see they're pretty significant in terms of driver. They're all higher than 25%, but the color is wrong. And so what that means is, like, let's take a look at HC, that's healthcare. We know that's important and is considered a driver by nearly 23 or 4% of the population, but only 58% of the population was satisfied with healthcare. What do you think that relates to?
Not having a nurse full-time?
No.
Nurse or medical?
No, but close. So we have pages and pages of comments that sort of help us get some flavor and color. And so what this relates to is the build out of the campus. We've not built the assisted living. We haven't been able to convert the memory care. And so residents are saying, this is really, really important to me. I want you to do this. It's a driver. It's significant and meaningful in my life. And I'm not very satisfied with where you are in the progress. Make sense? So let's just take a look at these. Food and beverage is a pretty significant driver. That's F&B. It's sitting there at 34% maybe as a driver, but it's down at about 65% in terms of how satisfied residents are. And so we're happy with where that is as a driver. That seems about right. So it's appropriately weighted, but we need to get it over into the green column, so over into the upper right quadrant. ES is environmental services. Communication is COMM. And so EI is extraordinary impressions. So we're a little, it's a little interesting. And one of the things that we're going to really look at as a team when we partner with our RAC committee to talk about why is it that we had 5 objectives in 2021, 2 of them dealt with extraordinary impressions and communication, and even though that was our focus during all of 2021, our scores were not where we needed to be. Again, about 23 or 4% thought that was a driver, that was significant, but those scores we would have expected to be up in the green area, above 75%. So that's an area that will get some attention. Our board of directors. So this is a great. We've never asked residents before on a survey, how's our board doing? And so this is a baseline because it's a brand new question. But a couple of interesting things. Second most important driver in the community is our board of directors, because it's the resident voice. And so residents rated the board of directors as the second highest driver in the community, ahead of food. Our board score is going to be somewhere about 69%. And so, because it's the first time we've asked that, we don't have a baseline. I can't tell you if that's high or low, and where do we compare to other communities. We will get some of that comparison information, but we don't have it yet. So right now what they have released is the information specific to Regency Oaks. And so I can't tell you whether in relation to other communities how this is tracking. But as that information becomes available, we'll share it. Any questions on this chart? I'll take just a minute if there are questions. Good. All right. Every week I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about the satisfaction survey. Next slide. Just odds and ends. So these the life stations. I don't know if any of you have been out here to look at them, but we went to replace them, and they wanted $55,000 to replace those life stations. And our building and grounds, I consulted with our building and grounds committee. They said no, it's not worth it. And so what we came up with is a bench that they have welded from scratch, and you can see the first one here got installed last week. Eddie and Florida Protect Painting will be out to power wash, sand, and paint these entire things. The writing will just we'll paint right over it, and it will just be a backdrop. But I think this was a really good change, and I think residents will enjoy having some covered seating. And there are 5 or 6 of those.
I think there's only 3 that I counted. The panels, you're gonna paint them over, and you're gonna put anything back on?
No.
Because right now, they don't make any sense.
No, yeah, it's just, in order to replace all the equipment that was on them, again, the price was $55,000, and we just said that's not a good investment, and so we decided to convert them to just seating areas.
All right. So, I think when the next marketing movie is produced, they should take those off as life stations.
Yeah.
Because they're advertised as a fitness gym.
Yeah, true. Yeah, good point.
Brad, how high?
It was a little low for me, but I am, I'm 6'2".
It needs to be at least 20, about 20 inches up.
Yeah.
To be able to sit down comfortably.
Yeah, and I think it's at 19 inches, but
Well, 19 is not bad. It looks like maybe 12 inches or something.
yeah, it may be my photo when I shot it. All right. So, next slide. So today, just a reminder, there is a wellness in the Wellness Center, 11 to 2 is the flu clinic. So if you have not had an opportunity to get your flu shot for this season, please come and do that. There's no cost to you. Just bring your insurance card. Whether you get your flu shot from us or from CVS or one of the partner pharmacies, wherever you get it, if you do get it, please call and let the front desk know that you've received your flu shot. We'll track that so that we can make sure that we have herd immunity for flu, just like we track it for the COVID vaccine and the booster. So if you get it outside of Regency Oaks, please let the front desk know. All right, I think we'll go back up here. All right, and then just one more reminder to say it again twice. The tavern is reopening on Monday the 6th, and that is for breakfast and lunch. So couple of outside speakers that I am trying to arrange for the Tuesday Talks in December. And the first is to have the folks with the FOB system come out and do a presentation so that residents will be able to have their questions answered about the FOB system. And we'll have the technicians here and they will do a much better job of walking you through and helping you understand exactly how that works. The other thing that is happening is the town hall is getting ready to kick off construction. And Lou, who is sort of the eyes in the sky, told me this morning that there's been construction workers in a pickup truck out there 2 mornings in a row. So that is good news. The building permit is supposedly been issued, and then we also have a letter of commencement with the new general contractor on it that has they were out here yesterday to pick that up and to take it down and file it with the county. So we are just really very close to being able to start construction. So I've asked Beslow, who is the architect, I've asked the interior designer and then the general contractor to come out and give a presentation to all the residents so that they can share with you their perspective of the project and give you an opportunity to ask questions directly of the design team. So those are the 2 Tuesday talks that I'm trying to set up for the first 2 weeks of December. A reminder that there is not a forum meeting this Friday. We always take the month of December off. People are on holiday and out of town and traveling, and it just it gives everyone a break, and you get tired of listening to us 12 months out of the year. So there is a break on that. And that is all I have for today, but we have lots of time for questions and answers, and Don is going to pass the mics around.
Grant, will there be a not quite ready for primetime players?
Yes! So the question is there going to be a not ready for primetime staff play this year? And the answer is yes. It is the 15th of December. There will be 2 offerings. There will be an early show and a evening show. We will be doing a buffet, and you'll be able to come directly into the auditorium here. It's we're not going to let them start construction until we finish our show. And we are doing, Chef is going to be here. He's going to be a part of the entertainment that evening as well. And we are doing the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It is a do not miss opportunity for all residents. And this is always well attended. We'll have we'll fill it out, a couple of hundred people. So if you when the reservation sheets go out, you'll want to get signed up as soon as you can.
Brent,
Up somewhere.
last week we really loved the subtitles.
Yes.
Is there any chance we can get those regularly?
Yeah.
Especially on some of this detail. The people watching it on 732 really appreciate them also.
Yeah. We'll try to get back to that. We could not get the subtitles. Hold on, let me rephrase that. I could not get the subtitles working today, and so it's new technology, and I'll get up to speed on it.
Please do.
Thank you.
I have a suggestion. When you tell us how many vacancies you have, you do it by 8-hour shifts or something like that. Full-time. It would make it clearer to residents if you separated the servers and say, because we know that the full complement of servers is 52. And we don't know how many they have, but last I knew it was under 12. And if residents knew that, they might be a little more understanding about not having full service in the dining room.
So the number of servers is up to 18. So that's great. That's 3 times what we had 5 weeks ago. So it's Our full complement is 52. We have 18. And so we continue to hire every single week. And as you've heard me say, this is not a solution that is going to be done in 2 weeks or it's months. It's going to be the middle of next quarter before we get back to full staffing. And so when I share that information on a weekly basis, I can certainly give you the numbers count.
Yes, because when you say there are 32 or 33 or 34 vacancies, that doesn't tell people the true number because they're not full-time.
Yeah.
Brad, what is the present status of the internet decision?
So there is a meeting scheduled for this week with all the active players, and I'll know more after tomorrow's meeting, and so I'll make sure to address it at next Tuesday's talk. And so we have, I can share a little bit of information. We have eliminated Centrix. There were 3 providers we were looking at. We have eliminated Centrix, and we are now focused in on just 2 providers. One is ACS, that's Jacob, and he is the one who has done all the Wi-Fi work here at the community. We've been pretty impressed with ACS, and then we also are looking at Spectrum. Now, we're looking at Spectrum because whether you're looking at Spectrum or Charter or Frontier, it's the bulk cable provider. Regency Oaks is never going to become a bulk cable provider. We have to buy that bulk cable from someone, one of the big houses. But the key and where we think the opportunity lies is, can we do a better job of providing or delivering that bulk cable to the residents than Spectrum? And so I think that we can, and this is going to be a partnership with a bulk cable provider, Charter, Frontier, Spectrum, and someone who's going to deliver the service component. And so we're making progress, and I'll try to give you an update next Tuesday.
Thank you.
What else?
Brad, when they start construction with the new town hall, can this stay open?
Yeah, so great question. And the question is, when they start construction on the new town, will the old town hall be able to stay open? And the construction project is going to last about 6 months. The beauty shop, let's start with the woodworking shop and the arts and crafts. Those are going to have to be shut down for 2 to 3 weeks. The spa is going to have to be shut down for about 6 weeks, and they estimate that the town hall is going to be shut down for about 8 weeks. And so for 2 months out of that 6-month construction, the town hall is not going to be available. The reason is that in here, we're only doing finishes. There's no construction other than sealing up this door. That's the only construction element to the project in this town hall. So there is a scope that they will be sharing, and one of the critical timelines. So when the presentation is done, you'll be able to see their estimated dates on when it's going to shut down, when it will reopen, and they'll do their best to try to coordinate this and inconvenience residents as little as possible. Great question.
The tavern will be open during construction?
So yes and no. So remember, the tavern, a great question, is the tavern going to be open during construction? The tavern is not closed because of construction. The tavern is closed because we haven't had staff to adequately staff it. And so that we anticipate that the tavern is going to be open at all times, provided we have adequate staff to cover it. Now, having said that, there is another construction project that is the tavern refresh. And we just got all that loaded into the system. It got approved. Our capital budgets expired today. This is the last day of the 21 capital budget, and Darwin got them all loaded in yesterday. So we made the deadline. It's been approved. That renovation is going to take about 60 days. So at some point, we're going to have to shut the tavern down for about 2 months while we renovate the tavern. Now, what will drive that is the furniture delivery. And so we have gotten a confirmation that the install date for the furniture for the tavern is June 11th. Now, we're 6 months out, and so I don't put a lot of weight on that date. But if that date holds, that means we would start the tavern construction sometime in April. So at the end of the construction, we'd be able to bring in the new FF&E and get everything installed. So that's a tentative timeline. So tavern should be open through April. April will close it down for construction, May and June with a July 1st reopening. That's our goal. Remind me. Oh yeah, come on up.
Just want to say a word about the Weissvogel Award. Okay. The Weissvogel Award is given out annually for the purpose of to an individual for sustained exemplary contributions to the quality of life of Regency Oaks. Now, the RoRo Board makes an award quarterly for unsung hero. The Weissvogel Award is meant more for a person or persons who get involved in a lot of things and are very visible. And so I'd like to remind you that the deadline for nominating people for this is December 17th. You can either put the nomination in my mailbox or you can email me. But this is an award that's been going on now for about 8 years, sponsored by RoRo, and we've had some very good participants in the past winters, so thank you.
We traveled to Memphis over Thanksgiving, and one of the days we met with a very good friend who lives in an independent living. And guess what they had done just 2 months ago? Was they had the conversion to the fob system. So being curious, I had to ask around. I went to the front desk. I said, how many calls do you get a day for someone locking themselves out of their apartment? And it's only 2 or 3 per day. And they send maintenance up and it gets corrected. She didn't know or not if they had, they have to reprogram it if they do that, your fob. I don't have any clue what that means, but they had to make a change. And so, and another, this is really hilarious. Believe it or not, there are a few people that are still opposed to it. And right after her wing was installed, the fellow went down handing out bypasses. He said, I figured out how to keep it unlocked while it's supposed to be locked. And I'm not going to share how he did it.
Okay, good.
You might want to delete this part, Tiffany. But overall, it was going very, very well. So there was a very little concern.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
That's good to know.
That is good to know. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, for attending today.